Welcome back. So in the last chapter, chapter 7, Olivine met a new critter in the canyons, a coyote, and she managed to convince him to take her to Redwall. So that brings us to the next chapter, which is chapter 8, Saguaro Shadow. Olivine was breathing hard as they navigated a narrow ridge midway up the wall of a gorge. Flat slabs of rock covered the ground and stuck out precariously over the edge. They knocked together like loose bricks, and she and the coyote stepped from one to another. The coyote clapped his paws together. "Let's pick up the pace." "I'm trying," she said, speeding up. Her foot caught in a crack, and she nearly fell over. Finding her footing, she threw a wary glance into the gorge. Gargantuan saguaros crowded the floor from one side to the other. They stretched toward the sky like reaching fingers. Olivine shrank away from the edge, afraid that, at any moment, they might spring to life and spirit her away. "I don't like it here. This place is strange." "It's the fastest way," he said, several paces from her. Olivine jumped from stone to stone. They had been walking for so long, and she was growing tired. "Maybe we could take a short break?" she said, breathlessly. The coyote huffed as she took a seat on a boulder. "I thought you were in a hurry." "I am, but you're going so fast. My legs are shorter than yours." "Look," he said. "This path is a shortcut. That means we go through it fast, not sit around and gab." The coyote stepped to the rim. "You see all those huge, needle-covered giants?" Olivine shuddered at the sight. "That's called Sahuaro Shadow, and it doesn't exactly have the best reputation. Critters go in, and they don't come out. I've seen eyes in there, looking right at me. We're probably being watched at this very moment." Olivine averted her gaze, fearing something might be staring up at her from the depths. "Who would be watching us?" she said in a timid whisper. "Us," came a gritty and familiar voice from above. Olivine's stomach somersaulted and she fell off the boulder in fright. She and the coyote looked up. The jackrabbit, Oro, glared down at them from an outcrop of rock. The sunlight lit up his ears, revealing a road map of red lines. Two figures stepped up on either side of him. On one side crouched a yellow-eyed bobcat. Her short, stubby tail twitched as she looked between the coyote and Olivine. On the other side hunched a red-faced turkey vulture. Turning his head from one side to the other, he peered at them with two steely eyes. Oro held out his paw. "Hand over the bag, bird." She shook her head, unable to speak. "Then you brought this on yourself." Oro cast his eyes on the coyote. "And your friend." He waved his paw. At once, the vulture spread his black wings and dove right for them. At the same time, the bobcat leaped out and scrambled down the steep wall. Loose stones spilled over Olivine and the coyote. "Run!" said the coyote, hauling her back down the ridge. His many pouches jangled. Her heart pounded. She dared a glance back. The bobcat landed on the ridge and began bounding after them. "Oh no!" cried Olivine. Head still turned, Olivine tripped and went sprawling onto a slab that hovered over the gorge. It wobbled as she climbed to her feet. The coyote, unable to slow down, crashed into her and they collapsed in a pile. The force of their collision tipped the slab toward the gorge. It let out a loud grinding sound. Olivine's stomach pitched up to her throat. "We're going to fall right into those horrible saguaros," she thought. She screamed as the rock dropped out from under them. Crash! The slab hit a ledge of rock and shattered. Before Olivine could process what was happening, the coyote yanked her back. The two of them toppled onto the ledge as the broken pieces of rock rained down over the forest. Overhead, the bobcat poked out her head. "They're here," she called. The coyote and Olivine flattened themselves against the wall. Oro came into view and glowered at Olivine. "Chauncey," he said, looking to the sky, "come around this side." The vulture wheeled and zeroed in on them. He tilted his wings and began to descend in a circle. "Why are they after you?" said the coyote. "I don't know." Of all the luck. He scooped up a few rocks and chucked them at the bobcat and jackrabbit. The vulture was coming closer. Olivine couldn't let them catch her. Who knew what they would do to her? She assessed the drop to the forest below. It was too steep to climb down. Then she noticed a lip of rock protruding from the wall. It curved steeply to the floor of the gorge. "I think we're going to have to go down," she said, hardly believing she was saying those words. "Are you out of your mind?" said the coyote, still lobbing stones. She tipped a piece of the broken slab with her foot. It seemed stable enough. She nudged it to where the lip began and crouched onto it. "Come on," she called out to the coyote. She pushed herself free and went streaming down as though on a sled. The coyote caught sight of her. "Wait! Wait for me!" he called. He grabbed a slab of stone, plopped on his belly, and took off after her. Oro looked on helpless. "Chauncey, hurry! Romy!" he said to the bobcat. "Get down there!" She shook her head. "No way! I'm not going down there!" Oro sneered. He stuck out his neck to see where they had gone, but the lip of rock went out of sight. Below, Olivine sped faster and faster. The wind whipped by her ears and sent her feathers aflutter. Ahead, the rock curved right into a wall of needles and stickers. She braced herself as the slab careened around the curve. Then it sailed free, and she went hurling into the dark embrace of Saguaro Shadow. She stumbled along the sandy floor and came to rest in a pocket surrounded by a wall of sharp spines. The coyote came flying in after, knocking her on her face. "Ooh, ah!" he said as he went skidding across the sand. Overhead, Oro shouted, "Where are they?" At the sound of his voice, the coyote and Olivine froze, limbs spread out in an ungainly fashion. "They've gone into Sahuaro Shadow," said Romy. Olivine peeked through the many cacti arms. She caught sight of the bobcat, scrutinizing the gorge. "Are you kidding?" said Oro. "Chauncey, did you see where they went? Can you see where they are?" "I can't see a thing. The saguaros are too thick." There was a flash of feathers as the vulture swept past. "Don't move," the coyote whispered to Olivine. She held her breath. "Which way did they go, Romy?" said Oro. "How should I know?" replied Romy. She let out a cry of frustration and knocked a rock over the ridge. It went crashing through the cacti and thumped near the coyote's head. He gulped. "This is ridiculous," Oro shouted. The vulture, Chauncey, landed on the ridge, and the three fell out of sight. "What kind of bobcat gets outrun by a quail?" Oro's voice carried over the gorge. "She didn't outrun me. Chauncey, you saw. I was right on them." "Psst," hissed the coyote. He waved his paw at her. "Let's move." And that brings us to the end of chapter 8. It was very exciting. So now they have entered Saguaro Shadow. They are in the gorge. So in chapter 9, we will see what happens down there. I hope you enjoyed and that you have a great day. And if you're interested, the link to the book on Amazon will be in the description. Bye.